beard.
Yeah. Still desperate.
Can you imagine George with a beard, though?
He's brilliant, man. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. Okay.
Okay. We are live.
We are live. There you go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 9 years live, if you like, back on a Sunday night for the first time in a while. My name's Aaron Paul. I am, I'm delighted to be back with you this evening after a win. That's the main thing. After a big win, and the man who put it all together will be joining us very, very shortly. Let me introduce my esteemed panel. Firstly, Anne-Marie Godfrey, how are you?
Yeah, very well. Like you said, buzzing after the big win yesterday, and nice to be here. Yeah, absolutely. You've made a lot of people's day, Mark.
I think I'm winding a lot of people up in press boxes on a Saturday afternoon when I hear, my colleague Ian Dennis, chief football reporter at 5 Live, going, and Wimbledon have gone a goal up at Plough and I'm like, yeah! And then everyone's around me like, and obviously we're in silence, and everyone's like, what? Like, yeah, it's like, what are you like? And I'm like, sorry. It's in way. And like literally, I'll hear like, an XYZ have scored against us, and I'll be like, oh my god, like just throw it. I'll get quite like angry, and people are looking at me like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And I'm kind of in my own little world, and I'd imagine people on the benches and stuff are turning around and go, shh, like keep quiet. But yesterday was just so good to get that win, so good to get that win. Not sure if they're going to be joining us on the show, but in the background we've got the man himself, ball boy Don George Jones, and he's been talking about how he just loved to have a beard. George.
Yeah, I was. We were commenting on your brilliant beard and how Stu's had a beard, but now he's sort of got to a stage where it's more grey than black. So, and then someone decided I should have a beard. So we'll see where that can go by the start of next season when we have fans back at Plough Lane.
Look,
might have a bushy beard for you all by then.
I can empathise with Stu because I'm starting to get greys as well. But Stuart's rocking the full-blown salt and pepper look. And you're looking good with it, pal. You're looking good with the beard, mate. Thank you.
I appreciate that. But it's lockdown, isn't it? It's lockdown, so I just couldn't be bothered, to be fair. And then I realised we were doing a live show, and I was like, oh, well, it is what it is.
What better time to hit up a live show? I'll tell you what as well, guys. This really wound me up. This one. Completely side note. I've been playing Football Manager. Yeah, I've been playing Football Manager 2018 because I go in like twos. So like I'll play 16 and stuff like that. I'm done with 16 now. It's getting boring. I want a bit of a challenge. So I started playing 18. Started as Wimbledon, and I've decided to start my own money ball program with no money, where basically anyone with like a common, sort of like Hispanic surname, I'm offering and inviting a trial. And if they're marginally decent, I'm signing them on 150 quid a week. Anyone with the surname, Sanchez, Fernandez, anyone with the first name, Jorge, Juan, invite them down, get them down, bring their granddads, Luis. And I'm signing all these like, random youngsters and hoping that I can turn a profit and basically like see my cash flow sort of, just build it organically, do it the proper way. But my Mac crashed this morning and I hadn't saved my game. And I've just signed 3 promising youngsters. And the slight issue I've got is I can't remember their names because I invited so many to trial and I only offered 4 contracts out. So I'm having a bit of a mare. And well, someone's going to be teaching me all about recruitment shortly. But we've got an interview, a serious interview to get on with. Do you know what? Let's just go straight into it. He is the victorious Wimbledon interim manager, Mark Robinson. How are you, pal?
Good, thanks, Aaron. You?
Yeah, not bad. What do you think of my scattergun approach to recruitment? Is it
Yeah, I think if I get the job, I think I might be calling you later rather than sooner, possibly.
I mean, what I'll do is I'll get a phone book for like South Spain, and we could just go through it and like just go through the names and offer them trials and see what happens. Really, I mean, it works. It really does work, pal. I mean, sort of, the night after, the day before, what's today been like? A big win against a club that was playing Premier League football, that won the FA Cup a few years ago. and a much needed win.
Yeah, I don't want to sound, as I said in my interview after the game, just reflective, Aaron. And I know that might sound a little bit boring, but for me, that's how it has to be. If I'm euphoric or whatever, then we got another game Saturday. We got a really big week of training. It's a 3 week of training, so I can't afford to be anything other than reflective. And I think I've heard a couple of comments about when I said the performance is everything, and everyone points. I don't mean the points don't matter. Of course, the points matter, and you want the points, but you can't let the points mask the performance. And the reality was, we were pretty good for 30 minutes and very average for the other 60. So if I let the 3 points mask the other 60 minutes, I'll be sitting there next Saturday, as I was saying, going, "Oh, we've lost again, or we've thrown away a lead." So, that's my job, is to be reflective, and that's just the way I see it. That's the way I see I need to be, and how the club needs to progress. And that's the same with all my staff. The players, great, let them enjoy it for a little while. But for me, that's the job of the fans.
Is that the coaching you, though, Mark? Is the whole thing about performance, and the way you just analyse the performance, good for half an hour, poor for 60 minutes, is that the coach in you, the inner coach in you going,
poor?
Okay, let's just say
very average,
and not
very
so
average.
But is that the inner coach in you, and sort of like that perfectionist of a coach, and sort of looking at things in a different way, whereas a manager's got to look at things overall and is basically doing maths with a league table? You're looking at individual performances and sort of the performance rather than the actual result.
I don't know what it is. I just think it's the only way. I don't see any other way. I think if you go home happy with 3 points and you're not reflecting on the performance, because at the end of the day, it's consistent performance that will bring consistent points. So as I said, if I walk away going 3 points, fantastic, and not looking at every little piece of, not just of what we got wrong, of what we did well as well. So already. The clips have gone out to the lads, and they've been looking at, what we're trying to do, Aaron, is build an identity to our play and build what we want to do. So, one, you have to look at what you did do well and why, and then you have to look at all the little bits that you didn't do well enough, including why, again, we've gone from looking, even though we wasn't fantastic, we looked very comfortable at 2-0. I think they had 1 block shot and a half penalty shout, but by the same token, we had 2 or 3 really good chances to be further up. So you have to look at that, because the concern for me, well, not the concern, the issue for me is the fact that at 2-0, we go to 2-1, and that has such a big effect on people's performance, on the way they approach the game. And I said to the lads after, where I want us to go is football's a game full of cliches, like, left, right, and centre. And the cliche, I think, actually ends up controlling the performance after time. I had a big argument with one of our players a couple of years ago about being 2-0 up, and he actually said it to me, it was a dangerous scoreline. And I just said, not for the best, it's not. But he wouldn't see it. And I said, that's because for years you've been told when you're 2-0 up, the next goal. So you're almost playing 2-0, waiting for them to get a goal, because when it's 2-1, you're going to panic. And I said, the best don't think like that. And so this is a complete change of mindset that we need if we're going to have sustained success. Otherwise, you're always on that constant roller coaster.
You mentioned identity in your answer just there. The past 2 managers at the club have had a specific way of playing. They've stuck to it and sort of not refused to budge, but they've really believed in their own philosophies, and it's sort of like, ride or die. What is the identity you believe in? And tell me about the Wimbledon way.
All I can do while I'm here, Aaron, and why I've got the chance, is me put in what I believe is the future of this football club to have sustained success. And in our model, which I believe is a fan-owned model, how we can achieve great things within our model. So, one, I'm not a philosopher, and no coaches. So when they talk about football philosophies, they're talking nonsense, because it's not. It's playing styles, and they've been going around since 1900 whatever. And there are certain, you know, and you go back to teams in 1940, they were playing pass and move and false number 9. So no one's a philosopher. If you want to talk about philosophies, then you're talking about your culture and your values. They're your philosophy. The rest is playing styles. So I'm certainly not a philosopher when it comes to playing styles. I have got a massive belief in culture and learning environments and how you get the best out of people. So in terms of playing styles, in the modern day era, I think you have to play a possession-based football. Now, the problem with possession-based football, if you talk like that to Wimbledon fans, I'm fully aware Wimbledon fans don't want to play tippy-tappy Barcelona football. I get that. But possession-based football literally means you pass it to your teammate. Now, that can be short, that can be long. But at the end of the day, as long as your teammate gets on the end of it, it's possession-based. That's very different to percentage football where there's a 50-50 chance of whether it goes to your teammate or not. So I think moving forward as a club, this is my personal view, is that you have to play attractive, exciting, possession-based football. Not for many, many reasons, because, you know, players now are fed a diet of Liverpool, Man City, etc. Players want to play that way. That's how they want to play. So if we're talking about where we're going in the future as a football club, and we want to attract the best players possible for what the money we've got, if we want to keep our best young players, and if you want to go into the loans market and take the best possible loans from clubs, then you're going to have to play that style of football. For me, I don't think that doesn't mean you can't see as a fan Wimbledon traits. So if we're playing possession-based football, but you still see aggressive press and you see competitiveness and you see running off the ball and you see 50, 60-yard recovery runs, I think Wimbledon fans can still identify with that as a Wimbledon team. But if we want to move forward as a club, that's just my view, that we have to have our own style of possession-based football.
Take me back to like last weekend, where obviously, look, what happened Saturday happened. You've had a call and you've been told, like, you're in charge and you're going to be looking after the first team. What are your initial thoughts? Like, you must sit there and go, what do I do now?
No, well, I mean, my initial thoughts were emotion, because when I heard from Glyn, Glyn's not only do I thank him for what he did for me, he's become a really good friend, but he was fantastic. He took me away for 20 minutes because, I was quite upset, and we had a chat, and he ended up saying, listen, I think they'll ask you to be in charge for a while, and he actually started saying to me, look, be your own man. I know you're going to have some different ideas, but be yourself, which is a testament to him that he's just, been told he's been
Absolutely.
released, and he's actually talking about me. So initially it was emotional, but then, I think everyone knows how much I love this football club. So once that's settled, there's two ways you're going to go. I'm either going to think, I'm looking after the range for a little while, or I thought I'm going for this full-blooded, and I'm gonna do what I believe in. And there's only one way I was ever going to go. So, and that's it. And once I'd got those thoughts in process, I had to just crack on, and basically I started on Saturday night, and I started getting things ready for Monday morning, and I didn't stop, because I wanted the players to walk in Monday morning, and I wanted there to be maximum impact. So, I got a presentation. Rob come and help me do a presentation of how I saw us moving forward, and I just thought I have to treat this like I've got it, like it's a job. Whether I get it or not is irrelevant. I have to treat it like I've got it. One, for you, the fans, because I want to have maximum impact. And two, if I'm going to get a tune out of the players, they need to believe that I've got it. So, that involved doing a 40-minute presentation. I got some things down at the training ground, like pitch markings for how we're going to press on the pitch. I don't know if you probably saw, we had boards made up for our on and off the pitch values. So when the players go down to the training pitch, they're on the pitch values are there by the side of the pitch. They're just visual reminders, that you'd use as a coach. And then that's just cracked on. I've had a performance coach come in to talk to the players as a group, and he's already done some individual stuff. I brought in a set piece coach who I've known for a while and really rated. So yeah, just cracked. So it's been a really busy 5 days.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna have a little water break because the heating is so high in my house. I've gone through like that much already. Like just Like, I don't know how these people can live with heat. You know, Stuart, take over.
I was going to say, Robert, did it help? Obviously, being amongst us, you know, obviously being a coach in the first team, did it help you on the first day in terms of the players know you and stuff like that? Did you find that helpful?
Yeah, definitely. And I thought that actually, you know, in fact, Wally bringing me up early and getting me a bit closer, and then Glenn bringing me even closer. Yeah, I mean, it's such a help. You know, I've always known the players because we share a building, and some you get to know better than others. But just it was more. I was talking to Trev yesterday actually on the match day, and it was more taking my first game, which that did feel a little bit surreal, sort of being the manager of Wimbledon on my first game. And I did say to Trev, this would have been really difficult. You know, say I'd still been youth team manager, to come into that first team environment and try and have an impact on the lads, that would have been difficult. So 100% being around the first team environment for a year and just even seeing how it runs and everything, you know, the warm up and stuff was really great. But I've got to say, Stu, the staff have been absolutely incredible. Like, not just like the academy staff, but the staff Glenn brought in, they've just been like, I've just enjoyed every second. They've been absolutely great. It's been really good.
That was going to be my next question. Have you enjoyed it? Enjoyed that first week?
Honestly, Anne-Marie,
Yeah.
I'm loving it. You know, I'm loving every single second of it. Even the 7 minutes of added time in a kind of weird, in a very weird way. I still kind of enjoy it. It was quite funny. I was standing next to Rob and I went, how long was it? And he went 7 minutes. And I went, okay. And Bezo was getting a bit anxious about something. I won't say what. And I ended up calming him down. And he was like, so I love that challenge. Well, you know me well enough. You know what I'm like. And I kind of enjoy that challenge. But I must say, it got towards the end when we got the ball in the corner. I don't know if you remember. And then I said to Rob, how long? And he said, 30 seconds. I said, we've done it, mate. And he went, I think we have. So that was a nice feeling, because, you know, but no, honestly, I'm enjoying it.
How do you keep that up for the rest of the week? Like, how do you start tomorrow? Keep the confidence up with the players. Keep everyone. So I know you said you don't want to get euphoric, but you obviously want to keep that positivity.
And well, as I said, for me, it's trying to get values and the way we behave on a daily basis. So you don't. So basically, you know, I'm a massive believer in learning environments and everyone coming to work to get better every single day. And that's what I'm trying to build. I've seen some real positive responses. To give you an example, on Friday, we did our match analysis. Now, if you speak to most coaches, they will say footballers, after 10, 15 minutes, they lose their concentration. I've always used that when I work with young players. I've always said, how derogatory is it that they think you're that stupid that you're going to lose concentration after 10, 15 minutes, especially when you play a game that lasts 90 minutes. But that would be the common consensus amongst coaches. So I've always made match analysis very interactive. And we were 25 minutes in and I said, well, that'll do now, lads, because we were going through stuff. And one of the players said, no, this is great. We love it. We're learning. And we carried on for another 15 minutes. So that was a huge plus. And it shows that, you know, there's a learning environment there. They want to get better. And there's lots of cultural things. We set up a WhatsApp group for everyone, the groundsman, everyone, you know, like a family group. So all the players are in there and they've started sharing things, because obviously Will got in the EFL league as well as Joe. So one of the players is put in there, and it's just trying to get that real togetherness, that attachment. So it's once you get those processes in place, it's just living it every day for me. And you come in and and everyone starts focusing on what the week's got ahead. So it's letting them know in advance what's going to be happening. So today we would have sent messages out, the plans for tomorrow and Tuesday, so they can start getting a focus. And and it's just not getting above yourselves. I mean, you know, the message I've given to them in terms of targets is just to be the best you can be every single day, no matter what you're doing. So if it's a rest day, then make sure that you're the best at resting. If it's, you know, and that for me is the only target you can have, because football's such a game of, you know, the reason we love it is because it's so random. So, you know, I don't think you can talk about points, targets and that, because it changes. So for me, the target they need is just to come in, every single one of us, staff and players, and be the best we can be every single day.
it must have been a real immense sort of feeling of pride that the player to score the first league goal in your tenure is someone who spent a long time under your tutelage in the academy. I mean, I think Stu probably knows, I think Jack Redoney's a class act. I mean, but you must have felt that, that bit of like sort of like father's pride indoors, like.
Yeah, you're going to think I'm such a miserable bugger. Well, I actually didn't, because he went and done a knee slide, and I shouted out to Jules Dobson, get him up and get back and get your shapes. I'm a bit weird like that, Aaron. I don't really feel those things. I do after, of course I do. I love him, but during the game, I don't really. I'm quite emotionless, if I'm honest. I've just focused on the game. But no, afterwards, of course, on the way home, we had a chat on the train, and I'm pleased for him and everything. And you're right, he's a real talent. So, yes, sorry if I'm being a bit.
Is that your attention to detail, though, Mark? Because one thing that really impressed me when you said about the set piece coach, because if you look at restarts, hey, look, a lot of teams are great at restarts and stuff like that. And I remember Liverpool having a throwing coach, which I thought was hilarious. Yeah. But actually, again, it's that little detail, isn't it? So is that things, obviously you were saying about Jack Redone yesterday, get up, get shape. Is that detail, isn't it, you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, partly with the Jack thing, you take your own experiences as well. I don't know if you remember away to Preston in the FA Youth Cup, Stu, when we went 2-1 up in extra time and all the boys went and knee slid in the corner flag, and then we conceded literally 30 seconds later. So you take those things, those little lacks of focus, and I'm not, celebrating is part of football. Of course you want to see players celebrate, but my fault is to make sure they're switched on. But in terms of 100%, like the throwing, I was talking to the lads about it on Friday night, in terms of where I want them to go in terms of their headspace. And Bielsa, I think, has got 80 different throw-ins, and these people do it for a reason, because you gain momentum. I don't want to give too much away, but you probably saw we had a throw-in that we did on Saturday where we were getting a certain player out, and then they stopped it, because these little things, a throw-in should be start of your possession. For me, a throw-in shouldn't be a 50-50 on whether you're going to give the ball away. You got the ball, it should be a start of your possession. So again, that is where I want to take it. Is to, we won't have a throw-ins coach, but the lad I've brought in to do set pieces, he will also be working on throw-ins this week in the middle third and the final third, not so much the defensive third, because these things give you momentum. They give you control of the game. So no, I'm big on those things, and also I think when it works, as a fan, you get a little buzz, don't you, when you see a good. I remember Terry Brown was good for set pieces when I first come. Like, we scored a couple of great set pieces there, and it's exciting.
What was preparation like? Obviously, Tuesday night didn't sort of go to plan, if you like. How hard is it to pick yourself up as a coach, because you've got to do it and be there for everyone basically, and you've got to be the man to sort of like lead everyone. How tough was Tuesday, go to Wednesday, go to Thursday, and sort of making decisions ahead of a big game Saturday?
Well, that's why I say to you, that's why I think you have to not carry too much emotion. So, I come away from Tuesday. Obviously, I knew it was going to be a tough week, because Monday we couldn't do too much after Saturday's game, and then we had Tuesday's game coming up. We had very few players available. But then you need to instill confidence into the youngsters that I knew were going to get a chance and going to come on. So even though you always want to win every football match, again, it's so important that I'm not too down after Tuesday. And I thought there was some positives Tuesday. There were obviously lots of things that could be better, but there were some positives. When I say about possession stats, I'm not a coach that thinks possession is everything. I'm not. But again, if we're talking about players enjoying the game, I think sometimes it's tough. If you're only having 28-32% possession, it can be tough. And now, against a decent side in Oxford who like to dominate the ball, we had 48% possession. Now, bearing in mind that was a team that was a little bit thrown together, I thought that was a positive. Obviously, it's what you do with that possession that's important, but that was still a positive, I thought, after sort of an hour's training session on the Monday. And it was the same again Saturday. We were up around 50%. So that was a positive. The young performances were a positive, I thought. And again, it was silly mistakes that cost us. Again, at 0-0, I thought we looked really comfortable, and it was silly mistakes that cost us. So again, Aaron, you have to constantly be reflective and not be too up and too down. And I know that sounds a bit mundane, but that's my role. That is my role to see things very evenly, I think.
One of the things that I noticed, I think Oxford a little bit, but definitely yesterday was a sort of pressing and group pressing. I think one of the things that we were good when we were good, we had a really good start this season, and it's been difficult to put a finger on it. But one of the things I noticed was that we pressed really high, pressed in numbers, and got the ball. If you look at the Plymouth goal, I think Ryan Longman's goal when he chipped the keeper. That's something that I noticed heavily yesterday. A high press. Is that one thing you want to get? Because if one goes, they've all got to go. Not all, but they've all got to go in a bit number, haven't they?
100%, Stuart. And that takes time because, we have a big saying in the academy, there's only one ball. Sometimes players play like there's two balls. It's going to dissect and go in different directions. So, it's quite a detailed thing. People think pressing is just people running at random pressing the ball, but if you get it wrong, you can get opened up very easy. So it's very much about body shape, where you're showing the opponent, getting around the ball enough so that you can actually leave the least dangerous men free. If you get it right, if you look at Barcelona at their best, they would often leave 3 of the opposition totally unmarked on the other side of the pitch. But if you get it right, it doesn't matter, because to get switches, the only way they can do that is to go backwards, and then you can regain shape anyway. So no, 100%, I want us to be a high pressing side, because again, I think that's something that Wimbledon fans will identify, because it's up and at them, and it's something that you'll enjoy as fans. You don't want to see a Wimbledon side sitting back, because it's almost like we're saying, well, you're better than us, we're going to sit back. And I don't think as Wimbledon fans you want to see that. So one, it's a personal thing I love anyway. And 2, I think that's an identity that Wimbledon fans will like.
And players like Ethan Chislett, I think, did you say, Stu, before that he won the fans man of the match?
Yeah, so we don't do a sort of a player of the match now. We sort of do a trio, because I hate singling out people. I really do. So we asked for a trio, and I think we got Ethan was top, then it was Jack Rodoni, and then it was Donald Johnson, which was really interesting. He had a decent, strong presence, and obviously bearing in mind we play with 3 centre halves. We played with 2 yesterday, so quite a strong game.
Yeah, and I think with players like Chislett, like you were saying, he's the type of football that Wimbledon fans like to watch, and obviously fingers crossed we'll be back there, hopefully at some point this year, to see them playing in the flesh. But I know obviously there's a lot of attention to detail, and you have a certain element of a game plan. Do you allow players like Chislett a bit of creativity? Do you say to them, express yourself, or?
No, I allow them all creativity within the framework of what we do. Really, you have to develop players to be independent decision makers. Football not paint by numbers, and they can't be robotic. You can't limit players, in my opinion, to go, well, we play that pass and that pass. It's all about them making independent decisions and making the right decisions to be effective. So, that's one of the biggest things. I want to take shackles off them, but at the same time, I was expressing to them, but we can't have a soft underbelly. We can't go out there because I'm giving you the freedom to play more, and then we go and concede stupid goals. And we did concede soft goals, but they wasn't conceded through overplaying. It wasn't like we give the ball away in open play. They were just, our defending wasn't good enough, and people taking control of situations, which is different. We can work on that. So, but no, 100%. I mean that. I've taken the shackles off all of them. I felt Will looked more comfortable yesterday, on the ball. He looked quite controlled in possession, a great assist for the goal. And that's what I want. Nesta is a bit of skill down the line. So they're good footballers, Anne-Marie. They can play. They can play, and it's making them realise they can play. And, I look at us and, in terms of winning second balls and things being a fight, we're not really that big a physical side. We need to compete physically, but I'm not sure a game of winning second balls suits the personnel we've got. When you look at players like Ethan and even Woody's very competitive, but he's a good footballer. They're all good footballers. So, I think us to be on the ball more, but still have that real ferocious competitive edge. But I don't think we want to be fighting. We don't want to spend 90 minutes fighting. We want to try and dominate the ball in an effective way.
I want to take up more of your time this Sunday evening, especially as you're probably at the training ground. What, 4 or 5 in the morning tomorrow morning?
Oh, at least.
Get the cones out of the 6 a.m. club. You talk about how you don't sort of like, add emotion to situations. You try not to be emotional, but what was that sort of coach journey back like after Wigan yesterday, where you can sit there, just like 3 points in the bag?
Yeah.
Just like, what was the feeling like inside?
Aaron, you got to stop. Well, we had a train. It was a train, first of all, after the coach.
Oh, you
still hear me?
I said budgets are good then. If you
budget was all right. So, to be honest, we had a meeting. The staff had a meeting on the train on the way back. So we had a meeting about various things, ready for Monday, because I want them to have Sunday off. I want them to relax on a Sunday as much as possible. Although there's been things gone on today where I've needed their help, but we had a meeting for about 40 minutes because I just wanted, to talk through things. I'll give you an example. I've made it very clear to Chris, the sports scientist, and Tim, our physio, in terms of the way I want us to play, and they understand that now, that I want them really robust and resilient so that we can go and go in terms of intensity. So, they've come up with a plan for a lot of the players on a Monday, so they can have a slightly different session tomorrow. They can have a gym-based session, basically to build up some robustness and resilience so that we can go again rather than being out on the pitch. So first there was planning, but then I won't lie, then I had an hour to myself and I got some really, really nice messages, some lovely messages, which was really nice. So yeah, I did have a moment where I sat there and just thought, wow, I've just managed Wimbledon to a win. It was it's a lovely feeling. Really.
Robert, just before you go, I'll go along. I've been giving Rocket grief after your saying with him last week. One of our listeners, Tim Probert, he just goes, Robert, my daughter keeps leaving her clothes on the bedroom floor. What is your advice?
keeps leaving her what? Sorry, what was it?
Keeps leaving her clothes on her bedroom floor. What's your advice?
What's my advice?
Tim, take the emotion out of the situation. Don't look at it as your daughter. She's your employee, exactly. Pal. She should be paying rent. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't help it. As much as I take all my coaching stuff to work, my daughters still leave their clothes on the floor. So unfortunately, I can't help it. On the Rocket thing as well, I think some people misunderstood that. It wasn't, that wasn't a dig at what's gone on previously or anything like that. I was just trying to point out that cultures and environments are so important, and people will behave. It wasn't a dig at the players in the past. That they were good players, and when I went to the first team, the player I actually mentioned to at the time was like, "Oh, Robert, we don't do it on purpose." I said, "I know you don't, but what I'm saying is, real bad habits can creep in, especially in football. Habits that in normal life just wouldn't be acceptable, and I don't think they build attachment. Rocket, and all I was trying to point out, everyone loves Rocket. Those players love Rocket. But why would you treat someone you love in that way? Yeah, I know I know his job is to be kit man, but that doesn't involve doing that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just about, the under-18s. We had a whole season where the All Blacks was our inspiration, and their big thing is nobody looks after an All Black. We all look after each other. So basically, you can find videos of them there. They're getting all the gear off the coach. And I think this stuff, not only is it important for attachment, for values, for how you feel about yourself as a person, I just think they're in line with what we are as a football club. So I think it's really important to me, the way we behave, the way we conduct ourselves. We're all human, we're all going to make mistakes, but I just think it's a really important part of what we are.
Yeah, no, I agree fully. And you've got me now watching, because on Fulham West Ham yesterday, I noticed that one of the Fulham players coming on had their mask and just chucked it on the floor, and I was like, you ain't going to do that at Wimbledon. But you're right, it's behaviour, isn't it?
It is, and a positive. So you're talking about little positives. There's been loads of positives, and the lads cleaned the dressing room up after the game yesterday. So, and it wasn't just the youngsters. There was a couple of senior players got involved. I didn't even have to say anything. They just did it. And, you know, and the big thing I said to them, even when we left the hotel, was everywhere we go, we leave an impression. You know, hopefully when we go away with the opposition in terms of on the pitch, we leave the impression of we want, but also you can still leave a good impression of yourselves in other ways, no matter, and I think that's really key.
I think you've left an impression on everyone, Mark, mate. You know, you certainly cheered everyone up this weekend on what's been. It's a difficult time, and I think football offers a lot of solace to people, and it offers a lot of hope to people. And you know, you want to see your team win, and you want to see your team, you know, play good football. And you know, I think Wimbledon fans, you know, obviously it's been a tough season. It started off well, and it hasn't been great the past few months. But what you did yesterday, I'm sure everyone else will agree. You know, everyone's had a good weekend, a really, really good weekend. And thank you, mate. Thank you on behalf of everyone for what you did, mate. And good luck with the 6 a.m. club tomorrow, pal.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's down to the players at the end of the day. So long may it continue.
There you go. Mark Robinson, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks.
There he is. Okay, Stu, what's next on the agenda, pal? Because
so we've got quite a few people listening in. I think we're just going to obviously gather. That was a really interesting conversation, wasn't it? He speaks very well. He's definitely. I don't know about you lot, but he's definitely making this decision.
I just love listening to him. I'm just in total awe. And to be fair, I mean, I've known Mark for a few years, and I remember one of the first things he said to me, just after a game, having a chat. He was saying he wanted to create that positive environment where people don't fear making mistakes, and that always really stuck with me. Like particularly, for young defenders passing out from the back, don't just panic and smash the ball. Just really giving them that confidence to try, and you can see that in his whole ethos, that whole picture. I just love it. It's so refreshing, and that's no disrespect to Glyn. I'm not saying that isn't something that he brought as well, but his passion's just tangible when he speaks. It's amazing.
I'd challenge anyone to listen to that interview, or anyone who knows Robbo to listen to that or speak to him or anything like that, and not say he's a genuine candidate to manage us right now. And I think, as every day passes, every game we play, it makes it more and more clear that he is a genuine candidate for this role. And he says all the right things, but he genuinely believes it. And it's not just how we play off the pitch, on the pitch, it's about what club we want to be off the pitch. And Robbo genuinely gets us as a club more than anyone else I've ever spoken to or any other manager in the game.
Big picture.
Go on, Emery.
Saying that big picture, you're absolutely right. And I really think that, I know it's one game, but you can see things that he's mentioned that have added up and contributed to that win yesterday, without a doubt.
Do you know what sort of stands out for me massively is the fact that he's been very, very loyal to this club. Very, very loyal, in the sense of, you look at other coaches who want to move up and progress very quickly. They'll go and jump on a job here and jump on a job there and they'll travel around to try and sort of find a fit. He's found a fit, and he's honing that fit to the point where, I think if you went and asked a lot of the reserve lads, not the reserve lads, the younger lads, and there were a lot of them young, and even the seniors, about him, I think you'll find he's a very well respected person, a highly respected person, and in this day and age, you see coaches, and trust me, the stories I hear from people, from a lot of players about, like, the stuff that managers get called and how they get treated and stuff like that. This guy has got it right. Wow, like I've sat there, I'm like,
but I think
that's a good feeling. You get a good feeling.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, Aaron. After this is Robbo's been at the club for over 10 years now. He's come through the under-18s as a youth coach. He's the under-23s manager. And so a lot of these players who played yesterday did know him and have worked with him. But the fact that in his first proper game, first league game as our manager, even the senior players were tidying up the dressing room. Is there any other manager in the country who, after a week, would have his senior players doing that for him. And I think that just goes to show the respect and sort of how much value the players place on him as a coach and as a manager.
And I think on the club's Twitter page, when it was announced that he was stepping in as interim, there was an absolute flood of former players coming in with, just like you said, Aaron, so much respect. More, and I'd be hard pressed to think of someone who's just well respected and no one's got a bad word to say about him. But equally, I don't think that necessarily means that he wants to play just nice football, where in terms of too friendly, because you get a lot of these comments about how we're not picking up enough bookings, we're too nice, you're not going to win games if you're not nasty. I don't think that he comes across like that at all. He's focused, and he wants to give players that leeway to express themselves and play football and enjoy it.
Absolutely. You look at sort of like coaches that have worked their way up through clubs and stuff, and I look at Ryan Lowe, who's at Plymouth, who come through Bury and done very, very, very well there, and sort of got thrust into it at Bury as like a player coach, and then he's established himself as a real fantastic manager. I remember Nigel Clough at Burton back in the day. Stuart, probably. I mean, George was probably still on the old on the SMA back then. When Nigel Clough started at Burton. But I remember him, but then real long time ago, must be about 25 years ago or something like that, when Clough started out there, and they work their way up slowly and they build it to how they want. And I think Mark's super impressive, and it's hard not to be impressed by listening to him. Stu, any other questions?
Yeah, definitely. I've got a few questions in here. I'm just going to put you to say that it's not uncommon now to see a person coming through the ranks, through the youth team and academy. You look at some of the best managers; they weren't the best players. Jose Mourinho. You look at for I would say. So I don't think we should be looking at him in terms of, because he's got no first team experience, that he's not good enough, because ultimately he's done a lot in the coaching side of it. Let's have a look. We've got Rob Boyce. Hello, mate. Evening all. Great 3 points yesterday. How will we keep all 6 centre-halves happy when fit? Now we're playing 2 centre-halves now. What do you reckon?
Give them chocolate. Give them money. Give them chocolate money.
Yeah. And also, any update on why no striker was on the bench? Corey, I don't know. I'll be truthful. I've lost track of the signing that come in.
Corey Andrews was signed injured from Kingstonian. He was injured when we signed him.
Okay.
I believe he's got another couple of weeks out before he comes back in, hoping to make an impact. But he was obviously coming from that level. He had a slight knock, and it's going to take him a couple of weeks to get back from it.
I guess with the number of centre backs and where we've got lots of players in different positions, Mark, I'm sure, said after the game on Tuesday about, he talked about squad rotations, didn't he? He doesn't necessarily want to do it just for the sake of it, like some managers do, like to keep players happy, keep them fresh. I suppose when they are all fit, it's a good problem to have, and we can rotate it based on who we're playing. But again, that was interesting as well. I don't know if anyone else noticed that after his interview on Tuesday, he was saying, I don't really think about the opposition, I think about us, total concentration on what we're doing. So yeah, I'd say it's a good problem to have when we've got everyone fit again. But I think everyone happy.
Looking at those centre backs, I think it's also important to remember that 2 of those are out very long term, with Terrell and Paul Kay both out long term. So it's not an imminent problem that we're going to have. It's not like we've got 6 centre backs right now. It means towards the end of the season when they're coming back, and even so, if they haven't had many minutes, they won't be pushing to start because they won't feel ready. It means it's an interesting problem we have in the summer in terms of contracts and to see who we've got here booked on for next season. But right now, I don't think the sort of centre back numbering is going to be a huge problem right now.
Yeah, and you know what? So obviously a win yesterday. We haven't really discussed much about a win yesterday. Think about that sort of side of it. We played some really nice football yesterday. 2-0 up. And Ethan Chislett hits the crossbar from the side, obviously coming in from the side of it. It's interesting what he said about the 2-0, because I'd be truthful, I was like, this is dangerous. We all hear it now, don't we? Aaron, I'm sure you hear it all the time. 2-0 is a dangerous lead. And then we can see the goal like that. It's frustrating when we can see goals like that. Sure. Yeah, I can see you, George.
Yeah, I think just going off, building on what Robert said, the 2-0, the players seem to go. I can think that's probably why Robert mentioned it, but we went into our shell when it went 2-0. What we've seen earlier this year when we went 1-0 up and sat back, this time we did it when we went 2-0 up. We stopped trying to be the creative attacking outlet that we have seen, that we saw us in that first half an hour. And that's when Wigan started to build themselves into the game. Had the players carried on and, pushed on and got that third, because I think if Chislett scores that chance and it goes 3-0, the game's dead and we win by at least 4. But it was because we sat back and let them build their way into the game. That's when it started to go wrong.
You can see why that's happened, though. Where we traditionally this season we've had so many problems trying to hold on to a lead. So you can see why the players would be apprehensive and just think, let's be a bit more reserved with the play. But I hope from what Mark was saying that we just have that confidence to believe in ourselves and actually remember we do actually have some really, really good players. And individually, maybe they just need to remember that. And yesterday will be a boost hopefully for the next match.
But it will be, and also we haven't had a huge number of games this year. Well, certainly in the last 2 months where we've had a lead at all. So for defending into the lead, and especially not a 2-goal lead, I'm not sure how many times this season we've even had a 2-goal lead. But for the players, they wouldn't have been through that situation recently. Certainly not under Robbo. Whereas now they've got that. It's a box tick. We've held on to a lead. It's hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
This is going back to last week, George.
Last week,
your Wi-Fi. I mean, it wasn't good. It wasn't. No. It wasn't. Let's just leave it at that. It wasn't
interfering with what he's saying.
Yeah. But what I was just going to say is we haven't had that experience to do that many times this season. So now they've got that box tick. They'll learn from this, and hopefully we'll take that into further games where we can be confident when we do take a lead to build on it rather than going into our shell and trying to focus on not conceding. Hopefully we can focus on getting the second or third goals because the third goals kills a game.
Speaking of Rochdale, they've been involved in 52 goals in 11 games. I mean, and the slight issue is yesterday, I took that stat, it was 50 goals in 10 games yesterday. I thought to myself, both teams to score and over 3.5 goals on a little acca here, lovely. Yeah, they lost 2-0 against Charlton. Typical Charlton. Always have to mess things up for you, Charlton. That's what they do. They love doing it. They just ruin the party for you.
Wasn't there something on BBC about Rochdale being the most exciting team at the moment? But I remember a few years ago they were the dullest team because they stayed in League Two for so many seasons in a row.
Under Keith Hill?
I think so. Well, maybe
really?
that, but I think so. Right. They were the team stay sort of static in one league for the longest period of time. So maybe they're just trying super hard to get away from that image.
Right.
70 or 90 years or something without promotion or relegation.
Yeah, it was something like that.
They play at the very well-named Crown Oil Arena. Oof. I mean, I've never actually heard of Crown Oil. I don't know if it's cooking oil, engine oil, what kind of oil it is. But they score a lot, they concede a lot. Let's put it that way. And so I'm backing the both teams to score over 2.5, over 3.5 goals, and that sponsored by a betting partner. Insert betting partner. Yeah, there's going to be goals, I reckon.
Yeah, it's you know what? It's a good game to go into now after the win. Obviously, a home game. I think we lost the last 5 at home. Granted, we've had some decent teams in terms of Sunderland and stuff like that, and Lincoln. But we need to go in. It's a mad week because ultimately we understand that the interviews are going to be taking place this week. So for Robbo, he's got to obviously get that team ready, get that team trained, and not really knowing, whether we announce who's been successful before the game. But I suppose really we can't allow anything to affect our preparation because it's really weird. After one win, we're out of the bottom 4. There's games midweek. I've obviously said something there. George is trying not to laugh.
I think
I'm messaging Aaron because there is background noise coming from your end, Stu.
Yeah, it's my wife.
Is she wrapping up?
My wife. No, she's my wife. My wife has what do you do? You do like she does like earrings and stuff like that, and she's
Come on, Stu, give it a plug. Come on, say the proper name.
It's Cloud Lorraine, isn't it? So she's doing very well at the moment. And basically, I'm the postman. This is the thing, right?
Apologies.
When I take my son to nursery, I now have to go and drop off and put the post in a post box. Like I never knew what a post box was, Aaron. To be fair, I've never looked for a post box.
Why are you not modelling the stuff? That's the better question. Come on, Stu.
Because this is our show, and no, I'm joking. My wife now is on TikTok. TikTok is a ridiculous site. I do not want to get addicted to TikTok.
This could be QVC meets 9 years. Like,
You grow that beard when the Guild Ball one comes on.
yes.
Yeah, so that's the background noise. My wife is, she's finished now. She feels very bad now, bless her. But yeah, so I was going to say, you know, with Rochdale, it's really important that we don't let anything affect it. We're out of the bottom four now. There's games midweek, so people with games in hand. Rochdale do play on Tuesday night, so it's a big game. If we can get back-to-back wins, we could. The strange thing is, on a bad run, and we could be out of trouble within 2 games. Just shows you how easy football turns around.
I think that is, and also, I mean, I was very fortunate enough to go to the away game against Rochdale, and they were a side that you could tell were trying to play the Rochdale way. We all know what that is. They do play possession-based football, trying to hold the ball, build through the phases, and you can tell they are going to be good at that. But we beat them away, and we weren't at our best that day. And I think certainly in the first half an hour, Saturday was much better than we'd played in the away game against Rochdale. I think if we're at anywhere near the level we were in that first half an hour against Wigan, I think we should be beating Rochdale and hopefully winning by a couple of goals, maybe even keeping a clean sheet that will certainly help sort of confidence at the back, which is still going to be a bit shaky after the number of goals conceded in the last week.
I was going to say regarding sort of the clean sheet, I saw that, you know, social media can be an unpleasant place at times, but I saw that Walker got, you know, a fair amount of stick. Do you think the players sort of rallied around him? Do you think he just sort of focuses on the next game, the kind of football cliche, we go again? Or, you know, mistakes?
Yeah, they do. I think the thing is with Sam Walker, he's made 2 mistakes in 2 games, which as a goalkeeper, it's going to be hard for him to build on that. But what he really needs the next week is a quiet game where he doesn't have to do much, maybe make a couple of comfortable saves. And, you know, playing a relegation team does give us that opportunity of if all the outfielders do their job, he could have a relatively easy afternoon, and that's when he has to build his confidence from that for the rest of the season. But, I mean, if we were playing a top-of-the-table team where he was going to have to make, you know, 10 saves and come for a load of crosses, that's not what he needs. Rochdale was a perfect game for him to build his confidence back after a shaky couple of first starts for us.
To be fair to him, though, he come into a defence that wasn't defending well.
Yeah.
And I think that's been difficult for him. I won't lie. I thought Trim was doing really good. Really disappointed that he went back. We don't know whether he was recalled or we let him go back. But to be fair to Walker, he's come into a team that's just not defending. And it's only really recently that I've actually seen anything that I could class as his error that's gone towards a goal. I couldn't really think of much before that, but yeah, difficult time. So we desperately, I think we're at 14 games now where we conceded 1 or more goals, and that's what we've got to, you know, we can't be able to score 3 goals to win a game, because you can't do that all the time.
I think that's going to be. Sorry, Aaron. I think on just building on top of that, it's going to be, that's something that Robbo could help with. Is if you look at the players who have come through the academy since Robbo became 18th manager, a large majority have been defenders or defensive midfielders, and that's going to be something that's obviously a side where he can help players grow and develop quicker. And hopefully, if we can coach that defence and get them to a level of, you know, where there's fewer individual errors, because, you know, both goals yesterday were individual errors or came from individual errors. You know, if we can start eliminating them from our game, that puts us in a good position to build on that if we're starting to find sort of an attacking threat at the other end.
Just going back to the goalkeepers, I see a lot of chat on socials today about Nathan Trott and you know, him potentially, you know, being not linked maybe, but fans wanted to see him. But, you know, the funny thing about him is I always thought he was quite small for a goalkeeper, quite like slight, you know, very, very, very sort of petite frame. But, you know, it seems that the wonder of Bezos coaching again is we've got the best out of him and people enjoying seeing him in a Wimbledon shirt. Yeah,
Nathan, there was nothing wrong with Nathan Trott. The thing was he followed Aaron Ramsdale, and whoever follows Aaron Ramsdale was in for serious trouble. That's your problem. He reminded me of Superman, right? No, check me.
Yeah.
Right, when he dived as if he was like going to take off. great spring. Like in terms of, remember when he first joined, I remember saying to a few people I knew, like, I don't know if he's going to be. Can he get up? Can he boss? And all of a sudden he's like jumping up and really getting good height. So I'll be truthful, Aaron. I would rather give out. I'm really frustrated we keep losing our young goalkeepers that come through the academy.
Joe Bursik is doing really well at Stoke.
Yeah, Will
really
Mannion,
well at Stoke.
really frustrating. And when you see them going out on loan to Accrington and clubs in our level, you're sort of thinking, well, why could we not? I know goalkeepers specialised position and stuff like that, but I think we've eventually got to. I think we've got to bite the bullet and just give one of these kids a chance. And Matt Cox, great goal scorer from distance. I think it's. I think we have to. I would rather go with that next year and give him the experience.
I think.
Sorry, George. Very, very quickly, George. I would love a romantic return for the Roos. I love him so much.
I'm a massive Roos fan.
Oh, what a babe!
It's just his hair's too slick, though, isn't it? He's just a pretty boy, isn't he?
What a man!
He's in the Derby team now, isn't he? Though?
He's in and out. He's in and out. They've got the ex-Wigan goalkeeper in there, Marshall. Is it Marshall? David Marshall? I think it's David.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Marshall's in goal for him. So he's sort of been pushed out there, but he always talks quite fondly about Wimbledon as well, which is nice. Keller, when you go and have a little chat with him after a game, he's very, very good. But I thought he was so good, so good.
I think just one thing on Keller, it's important to bear in mind the four he had in front of him of Barry Fuller, Paul Robinson, Darius Charles and Callum Kennedy, which I think we'd all agree is our best back four we've had since reformation. But I think just building on what Stu was saying about Matt Cox, I think he's a player who's really lost out because of COVID. I think if the Conference and National League system had been playing regularly all season, he gets a loan deal and then he's a contender for the number one shirt next year. He's lost almost a year out of his development at a key stage because he hasn't had that loan deal. So personally, I think for me, Coxey probably gets a loan spell for the first half of next year. Then we see where he is. But I think building on Nathan Trott, I think Stu's right. It was just bad luck he followed Ramsdale. Because you look at him, he actually made the League One Team of the Year last year. And yet, if you asked any of our fans while he was playing for us, they wouldn't have said he was a great League One level goalkeeper. He didn't get a huge amount of positive reception when he was with us. It was just because he followed Ramsdale. So I think if he was to come back, which I don't think he will because I think West Ham have plans for him, but I think he'd definitely be a good keeper for us to have on loan for next season if he was available.
I think Trott will be West Ham's number one. It's still a while away because I think Fabianski is a fantastic goalkeeper that they got there. He's a real class at Fabianski. But I think he'll probably be their number one in 5 years, 4 years, something like that.
Yeah.
We back Walker. I mean, I think it's quite
absolutely
as well.
Absolutely.
I think
absolutely.
from now, we're just over halfway through the season. Like you said, there's going to be individual errors, but I just said back him is the start of the spine of the team. Have that consistency instead of. I mean, I'm part of me is up for squad rotation, but keeper's got to be that one where you just you know what you're going to get from them, and I think like Stu said, he's a couple of mistakes, but I think generally he's been pretty solid. Experience. Were they 29 saying his experience? That made me feel very old.
It's interesting. Go on.
No, I was gonna say Sam Walker played a lot of football at Colchester, a lot of football consistently there, and going to Reading I think was a difficult move for him because he went there when the club financially was in sort of heading into oblivion, if you like, and like were signing players that were cost effective and could just tie them over, and then they had increased sort of expenditure with their owners deciding to actually do a U-turn and go, right, we're going to put some money in this time, and he's lost out to Rafael Cabral, who's a very, very expensive goalkeeper. I agree with Amarida. I think backing him is so important. He's in there. He's in there for a reason. Whatever happened with Connell, be it the club decided that it wasn't working out, or they decided, Birmingham City might have decided, it's not working out and you want to bring him back. These guys decided on Sam Walker. He's a big keeper, big frame, and if you look at it, for that league, it should be kind of pretty good for that league. With the crosses coming in and whatnot, he should be in there. But I just think we really need to back him.
And that's the thing, though. I think as a goalkeeper, sorry, Cheryl, we'll hand over in a sec. But I think with Sam Walker, if you're a goalie who you've made a couple of errors, maybe your head's dropping a bit, there's only one who's the best goalkeeping coach in the world to have just, on your shoulders, help pick you up, help improve your game, to pick you up as a bloke and to get you in the right headspace and build your confidence. Bezo's surely going to have, Bezo's surely the best person in the world for that.
For the whole squad, I mean, Bezo's such a massive influence. I think he will probably be one of the kind of hopefully unsung heroes over the next few months when we get out of this. I feel positive.
Definitely. So, question-wise, a good one to set us off for our last section. From Chazels22, don't know his real name. I mean, guys, who do you think will sign for the Dons as manager if Robbo steps down? Don't think he will step down. Simon Atkinson, talk of Neil Harris. Can we afford him?
I mean, I think Robbo doesn't turn it down if he's offered it. I think that became pretty obvious based on what he was saying and the way he was speaking during that interview. And I mean, for me, Robbo would be my first choice. Neil Harris, I doubt we can afford him. And I think he wouldn't even consider us as a realistic option because I have a feeling he still wants a championship job. What do you think, Aaron?
I agree and I disagree with you in the sense of I agree he'll probably think that he deserves a championship opportunity, but let's be fair. Let's be very, very fair. He took Millwall to a point where he was playing one-dimensional football and they were stagnating. The squad is very poor there to the point where in the summer Millwall will be having a mass clear out because there's a real load of players there who just shouldn't be playing championship football. So hashtag look out for the freebies. If anyone's on the board is listening, look out for the freebies. There's going to be a lot of freebies going from Millwall in the summer. I think he went to Cardiff because he's a legend there, because they thought, you know what, it will reinvigorate the fans. The fans after Warnock were a bit sort of flat. And let's be fair, he was probably cost effective for Cardiff City as well, who wanted to hold on to the money from the Premier League. Going forward for Wimbledon, the truth be told is, the perfect job for him is too low down from his Southend United. If Southend were in League One, he'd be all over it because he's got a relationship with that club. I think Neil Harris and Wimbledon would be a very good match. Will it happen? I don't think so. I think that the football would be too... I just think that the club wants to look at things in a different way. I think they want to be progressive and they want to look forward rather than we're going to go to here, we're going to sit here, we're going to be content. And I think that's what Neil Harris does. If you look at his Millwall sides, yes, there were some brilliant performances in the FA Cup. You know, the FA Cup, when they played Brighton, when they played Everton, played Leicester, they were phenomenal. But as a league team, they weren't great. And I'm not going to sit here and go, well, you know, Gary Rowett's done any better. But at the end of the day, the squad he assembled they're very samey players. All the players there are very much the same, cut from the same cloth, very similar styles of players. And I just don't think he's the manager if the club want to push on to the next level and have like a long-term vision.
So who do we... Obviously, we understand there's going to be some interviews this week. You would have thought that would have been the case. County Brothers have not come out and said no. So that's my logic. You know, we've had already Alan Bargy come out and say he's happy where he is. Chris Powell happy at Tottenham Academy and the job he's doing with the FA. We know that Jason Yule has applied for the position because he put that on the South London Press, which has been all over this. But the county, I'll be honest with you, I'm torn with Robbo because every time I talk, I've known Robbo for years and been lucky enough to stand on the touchline with him in the youth games. He's always been really accommodating. My heart says him, but my head goes, if Cowley's brothers are interested, we have to put out the stops together.
Because we're looking, and let's be fair, Stuart, as a fan, you're sitting there looking at the success that the Cowley brothers had at Lincoln City and going, mate, like, Concord Rangers, the loyalty they showed to them, to Lincoln, and you're thinking, mate, them here would be unreal. And you know what? They would be unreal. I think I was going to say this is off the record, but you know what? I can't. I just won't reveal myself. Speaking to someone who knows them, I think they were very, very hurt by the whole Huddersfield thing. The whole Huddersfield thing was a shambles. But then again, Huddersfield are a bit of a shambles in terms of, they're recovering from a big financial hole, and they've decided to go another way. And truth be told, it's not even going amazing under Corberán. But they were hurt by that because, they stayed at Lincoln and waited and waited and waited until they thought they'd find a job which was right for them. Their family still live in Lincoln. They're very, very close as a family. And when you speak to them, I just don't think they'll take any old job. But you know what? This club is very special. That's one thing. This isn't a flipping Gillingham, a bland, crap club. No offense to the brand, but it's like the club's bland as fuck. It's not a Gillingham. It's not, they're not bland. This is Wimbledon. I mean, you're a London club. You've got one of the best grounds out there. You've got a club that could really do something, and I think that would excite them. I really think that would excite them. Like Lincoln City excited them in non-league, a big name, a big ex-football league name. And let's be fair, if they'd bide their time properly at Concord, well, if they'd waited, they could have gone for Chesterfield, something like that. They could have gone for another name, but Lincoln City attracted them. And Lincoln City didn't have any money. They scraped things together and they recruited well. And you look at some of the players they recruited and how they did things. John Akinde, Michael Boswick, Harry Toffolo, players like that. They did very, very well there. And I'll be honest with you, I love Mark Robinson. I think if they are to go with someone else, I think he needs to be very much involved in that first team picture. Very much involved until he feels either he needs to go away for another job and he gets offered another job, or he sticks around. But the Cowleys, man, Cowleys at Wimbledon, I don't know, man. I that would be a statement of intent, a real statement of intent. And I think it wouldn't be one of them. They're not fly-by-night merchants. They're not going to sit here for 5 minutes and then, sniff a pay packet somewhere up the road and go. They'll stick in it for a project. And that's what excites me the most, that we could see them, if they are the managers, for 3, 4, 5 years, building something really good and properly getting that ground, lifting the roof off the ground just after they've put it on. It'll be phenomenal.
Yeah, I was just going to say very quickly before I drop out, in terms of, I think the Huddersfield job was never the right fit. Never the right fit. I don't think you can't build a project in the Championship, definitely not in the Premiership. You just don't get the opportunity to. I just don't see them going back into a Championship club, if I'm being honest with you. But I think when we were at Kings Meadow, the shortlist we had, unfortunately, was what it was. We couldn't attract. But, if you look at Brighton and the clubs that have had new grounds, that new ground is a buzz. It's a massive buzz. Of course, we don't. And by the way, the club have been so tight of information. We have no idea who's on that shortlist, apart from the ones that have thrown their hat into the ring. But the fact they haven't actually denied that they're interested, you have to think. But in my opinion, if they're interested, you basically go out. In terms of you, because we're not going to. If they are, and we say a big if they are been interviewed, we're not interviewing them. They're interviewing us. They're at that stage where they're interviewing us. What are you going to do for us? So it's probably a massive performance for us if they are coming to see us on that side of it.
Oh, it's just a dream, mate. It's a dream.
It's a nice situation to be in, isn't it? I guess in many respects. From a week ago, how low and crap we all felt after the unmentionable game last week, and actually, it's a good position to be in, and to see, some of the caliber of people who we seem to have seen are associated. Some of them, like you said, have ruled themselves out, but it just shows how far we've come. And I think you're absolutely right that they would consider it a project, and there'll be a lot of questions. I really think that's a key point about what you said, Stu, in terms of they'll be interviewing us. But going back to what Aaron said, whatever happens, I really, really hope that there is some sort of role for Mark. And it may well be that he gets the nod to the end of the season. And I suppose what lots of fans will be thinking is actually what do we need right now to get ourselves out of this situation, as opposed to thinking long term.
No, I think the sort of managerial situation, if you look at who we were linked with 2 years ago, and the
Just
three,
about to say that, yeah.
the three most likely names for that job, other than Waller, who ended up getting it, your likes of Nolan, Slade, etc.
Let's be fair, George, sorry, just on that. Let's be fair, Stuart. I was going to bring you back because George, Stuart, and I were sat in a studio talking about a radio studio for weeks on end, mate. For weeks on end, we're talking about X, Y, and Z, and this person, that person, and the glamour candidate was Ian Holloway, and he never even applied for it. He wasn't contacted for it because I interviewed him 2 weeks later, and he goes, "Never knew nothing about it. I wasn't approached or anything like that." The glamour candidate was Ian Holloway. If Ian Holloway was appointed Wimbledon manager tomorrow, I'd be disappointed. Honestly, I'd be really disappointed. And I'd go, you know what? They've picked the wrong man there. And it's just a disappointment. This shows how much this club has evolved over the past 2 years and where we are. And granted, you know what? Right now, league table doesn't lie and things aren't amazing. But there's a lot to look forward to. A hell of a lot to look forward to.
Yeah. Very
No, you're right. Do you know what? Sometimes it's the right manager at the right time, and Ian Holloway might have been the right at that time, but unfortunately, things move on. Managers go past their sell-by dates so quickly, don't they? In that sort of terms of it. But what I would say is that anyone that's got any sense, and if the Cowley brothers are coming in, will very easily see what an asset Mark Robinson is. He's going nowhere. The club respect him. He's done so much. So I've got no doubt that he's going nowhere. And actually, if we are lucky to get the Cowley brothers in, what an education that would be for Mark to add to his bow. And he's going to be a manager one day. Yeah, we all know that. But it's just
Oh, so I was going to absolutely just on what you were saying. I think with Mark as well, there's a good chance that he would stick around because I don't think he's ego-driven at all. He's not about that. He's very much, like you said, about that value, about that culture, about developing players. So I don't think that
Which is refreshing.
He's not the type to have a huff and leave.
It's very refreshing that.
Yeah.
In an era of instant gratification, where everyone wants everything done straight away and they want to get to the top straight away, that's a very refreshing trait.
Yeah, and do you know what? All you've got to do is invite. Obviously, I know they've been at Huddersfield, and that's a lovely stadium, but it's just based up north, isn't it? But but what I'm saying is, just take them to Plough Lane. I don't know if anyone saw. There's been some pictures on LinkedIn account of the people that've been doing it, but it's amazing. It's disappointing the moment the club have gone a little bit quiet with pictures and stuff like that. But that ground is something about it. Do you know what? It's in a posh council estate in Wimbledon. It's a great ground.
I think Aaron touched on it a bit earlier, but I think one of the main things for them is obviously their families are still in Lincoln, and that's something that, we've obviously, the last management team with Glyn and Nick Dawes, their families stayed up north, and that was something that I think didn't help when things didn't start going right. The fact that they were not at home, they weren't with their families. And it'd be really interesting if the Cowleys, because that would be a big decision for them, is to decide whether they want to relocate.
George, I think you've nailed a really important point there. They were at Braintree before, and they're based in Essex. And if you listen to their accents, they're Londoners. You know that. And I think if there was maybe a chance for them to come home, it could be big. I don't know. I don't know. I know Danny Cowley, but I'm not gonna. I can't speak for him. I don't know, but you never know, man.
I'll tell you one thing he did, just before we wrap up. When Lincoln come down in the FA Cup a couple of years ago at Kings Meadow, George and I used to get in the ground quite early because we're quite sad like that. He come out and he impressed me massively in terms of he come in, he said hello to people, wasn't up his own proverbials, but then he paced out literally across the halfway line. He paced out from the centre circle to the penalty area. And I was like, mate, that is meticulous. That's like detail. And it just struck me. That, he gets his success because he recruits well. The Cowley brothers look like they're good man managers. You can tell why they've been successful. And like I say, we're talking it up and he might not even be coming down. I think there's a big chance he is. But I think it's an interesting.
We're in an era, Stu, of coaches, not of managers, of coaches, of head coaches, where being a good coach is more important than being a good man manager. A man manager is okay, but if you can improve a player, and I'll tell you a key example is look at my pal Dara. Yeah, You know, I was talking to him today, and we were talking about different players, and
He's your pal now.
We're pals now.
Darragh is great.
Me and Mr. Chairman, we're pals now. But if you look at the way he's built his business model on finding players who maybe have had a tough time, Ivan Toney, you know, he talks about Ivan Toney a lot, but I'm not surprised. I think he's the most deadliest finisher in Europe right now. He's the most prolific goal scorer in Europe or something like that. But Ivan had a really bad time going from Northampton to Newcastle, where he was just farmed out on loan. And then he went and found a home at Peterborough. I actually recommended him another player today. I can't tell you who it is, but I recommended another player. And I said, he's your man in the summer. Go and get him, turn him into a Peterborough player, and tell him in 2 years we'll get you a move to Brighton or X or Y or Z in the Premier League, because that's what he does. And that's because of coaching. They have their own little data analysis method in-house. They coach and coach and coach. A key example, the most key of key examples, Dean Smith. Lovely, lovely, lovely man, Dino. What a phenomenal human being, but an even better coach. And you look at players like Watkins, Mopai, you know, who I can't remember, Rico Henry, Jack. Mate, Dean Smith is the reason Jack Grealish is world class. Jack Grealish was a really good player. He's now world class because of Dean Smith. Because Dean Smith is such a phenomenal coach. And Villa, you know what? Praise be to their owners that they stuck with him in the summer and didn't go, right, we're going to biff you off and get in a more experienced head or something like that, because they've got a fantastic coach. If you look at the success he had with Brentford, bringing in these players, turning them around and turning them around for bigger profits. It's a business model. That's what it is. Football has become such a business. You know, teams can't rely on revenues from broadcast and TV, and COVID has proven that. COVID has proven that relying on TV and relying on prize money and gate money isn't sustainable, just in case a natural disaster happens effectively. So the method that Brentford employ, the method Villa have, the method, you know, Peterborough have, where you've got a quality coach, is really successful. And I think that's what you're going to get with the Cowley brothers. You're going to get a team who sit there and are so analytically shit hot effectively. You know, they are so on the ball. It's unreal. You know, I was fortunate to be there when they got promoted into League One with Lincoln. And, you know, like Danny Cowley, straight after the game, we were invited onto the pitch, have a chat with him and stuff like that. And he was unreal. You know, some managers, they want to lord it up, have a glass of champagne, all that, nothing. And then afterwards, we all packed up. We went back downstairs in the office. He's like, should you have a beer? I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. And like, I'm just like, wow, this is unreal. You know, just seeing him with his family, real family man. They're a team that all the Cowleys, they're a team. And you grow to respect something like that and someone like that. And you know what? He'd be very loved. He'd be very, very loved. So please make it happen.
I was just going to say, as we wrap up, go on. George, you going to say something?
No, Aaron's sort of gone over it.
I was just going to say very quickly before we wrap up, Aaron, I'm going to plug your podcast because it's absolutely superb. He had, to be fair, my two favourite people at the moment, Dan McAntony and Lyle Taylor, on the same podcast. Hilarious. It was like a loving session, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because Lyle talks it very straight, and Darragh is a very straight individual on that. But yeah, 72 plus, if I remember properly.
72 plus, yeah. You can find it on BBC Sounds.
Brilliant. It's absolutely. I was wetting myself this week. I look forward to every week. Charlie Austin. If you go back for the back catalogue, Charlie Austin, what a character! Hilarious. Like,
this week's episode was very good. We had Ryan Lowe on, and I mean, we had Joby McAnuff on the other week. He was real good. Joby and Curtis talking about the Wimbledon days as well, which was really good.
That's good.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, because obviously they both sort of came through it, and that was really good. But this week we had Ryan Lowe and Glenn Murray on, and we got into quite a heated debate and stuff. And it was, you know what, it's a pleasure to sort of, you know, host it, if you like, because it's interesting. It's good fun.
It is. It's very good. And in terms of Ryan Lowe, George, you and I were in a press conference, weren't we, when for all game?
Yeah.
And I have to say, I was really impressed with him when he was talking. So when I heard you had him on there, I was like, yeah, he's quite. But it's a very honest chat, and that's really good. So yeah, last say, Aaron, brilliant podcast, love it.
I'm sure the plug on this will massively help a Five Live BBC
Oh
podcast.
yeah, I'm sure.
It's going to blow up now, Aaron.
The big
Don't
break.
worry. Yeah.
I just want to say how much I enjoy it. I love listening to podcasts, and I was messaging Aaron in a week going, "When's your podcast out?" Because I was like, I need to listen to it. Because I listened to Darren McAntony's podcast. It's hilarious.
Class.
He can probably say, I think in one episode he said about 20 swear words in the first 5 minutes.
It's the fact he does it in a New York Irish accent as well. It's brilliant. Yeah. He doesn't say off; he says off. It's great. I love him. I love him. He's just a wonderful human being. Like, as a human, he's just so honest. And you know what? You appreciate that honesty. I think if you were to work for him, you'd really appreciate him. And the double act he's got with Barry Fry is just so funny. Like, it's just like, how do you two work together? You've got Barry just getting him into like little schemes and stuff, and Dara just going, "Oh God, like what we get involved in," But yeah, it's a pleasure. We'll see who we got on this week. We've got the powwow meeting tomorrow to decide what's going on. Who knows? If there's an announcement at the club Wednesday, we might have someone on.
Hey, definitely. And to be fair, Dara actually did want to come on our podcast because I was on his podcast. Ages ago, we done a fans forum, and he had a lot of respect for women, and I was really impressed with that. And I messaged him and said, "Can he come on?" But he was in Dubai when we were playing Peterborough at home. He was in Dubai, so he couldn't.
And maybe it was a good thing he didn't come on after that particular game, considering how that ended.
I know, but we'll probably try and get him on the podcast because he's hilarious, and I've got a lot.
Just hope the player that Aaron was suggesting to him isn't Jack Rudoni or someone. But...
It's not a Wimbledon player. Just to put it out there. Just to put it out there. And the thing is, I wouldn't want it to be a Wimbledon player because I have this running joke with Dara that he doesn't actually pay him any money. He pays him on the Never Never. He'll do like an instalment package spread over like 10 years. So like he'll go, "I'll give you 25 grand spread over 10 years." You're like, what? That's actually how he pays the players. And you know what? He's mastering something very impressive there.
I don't think much. I'll be truthful. I didn't think much of Tony when he was down at our place. Bit of a sulky player, but you know what? Brentford, was it 22 goals? Is it 22 goals in 25 or something?
Something like that. He's class, mate.
Absolutely ridiculous. And now he looks great value. And as Dara said, I think Dara said if he was in a championship, he would have sold him for like 10, 20 million quid.
He was out of contract as well. I think he was coming to the end of his contract, and they had an agreement and stuff like that. And so, the thing I like about Dara is if you listen to his transfer talk, like his chats that he has, he tells people like, right, this is what we're going to do. You're going to play here for a year, then we're going to sell you. And they're like, all right, Connie, just bear with me for a year and we'll sell you, guaranteed. There's a story about Lee Tomlin destroying Darren Ferguson's office as well.
With the Celtic bid.
Class. On the day, imagine Celtic are bidding for him on the actual day of a game. And he told Lee Tomlin about, XYZ, you're not doing it, you're playing. And Lee Tomlin goes and destroys the manager's office. What a story, just to kickstart up on it. Unreal, that story. Real, just class. And yeah, it's a pleasure to do it. So hopefully we'll keep them coming.
Super, great stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's it for tonight.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, it's big few days for the club. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, it's exciting. I don't know about you, but I'm quite excited about it. I'm gutted about Glenn leaving. Like Robbo, I'm quite lucky, by the way, because me and my wife sponsor we sponsor Glenn's kit. So at the moment we sponsor Robbo's, and whoever comes in, I'm quite lucky in that way. So gutted about Glenn going, really gutted, but excited. It's exciting, and obviously with a win on Saturday always makes it better.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on YouTube. Thank you, George, mate. Your Wi-Fi was excellent this evening.
I'm amazed how well it held up, to be honest. Thank you.
Invest in some real long cable for you.
I hope it lasts out for his 8-hour NFL sesh later.
Yeah.
Is anyone watching that just out of interest?
I will, because I love the Super Bowl, and Tom Brady's an amazing athlete, isn't he?
I can't get into it. I did some work with the late Kev Cadle from Sky. We went to the Hippodrome Casino in London. This is one of the most unreal gigs I've ever got in my life. My pal Rich turned around to me, he's like, "Do you fancy being a roving reporter for Sky?" This is when I first started as a journo. What for? The Super Bowl? I was like, I know nothing about NFL. He's like, don't worry about it. We'll work with Kev. It'll be really good. I'm like, who's Kev? He goes, Kev. I'm like, he's like, hi, how you doing, man? I'm like, whoa, like, you know. And he was such a lovely man. God bless him. He's passed away now. You know, proper, real larger than life character. And I remember getting to the Hippodrome, and like Sky give me an earpiece and a microphone. And my job is like, you know, when they cut away during like the game to like the Hippodrome, we're going to talking to like, you know, sort of Yanks in Britain and expats, essentially American expats and stuff like that. And I go back to this table and like Kev sat there with like margaritas and like mojitos and burgers. He's like, come on, man, come on, don't worry, they're paying for it. And literally we're just sat there, just like, mojito, yeah, bang. Okay. So guys, Super Bowl, yeah, London, you know, one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And then I took him to Edgware Road at 6 a.m. for a kebab. Like literally, he was like, come on, man, let's go. And me, my mate Rich and Kev piled into my car, ended up on Edgware Road, and I just don't know what, I didn't even say, never saw him again. But one of the most surreal experiences. I have no idea who was playing, no idea who won. I don't really care. I'll probably watch the first hour of it, which means I'll watch probably about 3-4 minutes of action. That's it.
It's normally the halftime. It's normally the halftime show, though, isn't it? So last year, I'm trying to think now. Was it Jennifer Lopez? It was. No. I remember like the halftime show is amazing. The year before. Sorry, my wife likes the Super Bowl. So yeah, who's going to be on? And are they going to social distance? 20,000 people in the stadium.
Who's singing tonight?
I don't know.
Halftime. It's
Sorry,
doing the halftime show.
You cut out there. Who's it?
The Weekend.
The Weekend? What weekend? It's the weekend gone already.
Oh, that's such a dad joke.
You have three of us shaking our heads disapprovingly, Stu.
We've got the Weekend on there.
That's a Nick Draper special.
Yeah. Sorry.
You've been spending too much time with that man.
You're better than that, Stu.
It was too old. It was too easy, though, wasn't it? But is that seriously who it's going to be on the weekend? Have they got have they dropped their budget? Have they got a serious problem with TV money as well? Like,
I think you've set the expectation for the Plough Lane halftime high now. If you think the weekend's a bad gig, I think.
Yeah, if it's me doing Keepy Uppies in the centre circle, we're going
to have Mumford & Sons on there. What are you on about? We're going to have Mumford & Sons on there.
Can you imagine?
Mate, I don't know. I'm going to think about it. I might stick around and watch it. Who knows? But I know George has got 2 ton of Doritos ready for it. So Doritos, energy drinks. He's ready for the Super Bowl. He's ready for the Super Bowl. Yeah, thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you, Anne-Marie, as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it.
As ever. And thank you, Shoot, for putting it all together. Thank you to the fans.
No problem at all.
Keep safe, everyone.